Hello, in this video I will show you the progress that I made on my game engine that I write entirely in C++. So since the last video, the changes that I made is I made this planting tool. The idea of that tool is to enable me to easily place objects in the scene. Originally, in order to create new objects, I had to bring up that menu and pick a game object that I wanted to create from here, and the game object will by default be created in the 0, of the scene, and then I had to move it around and place it wherever I wanted, and it is kind of tedious. So instead I created this little window over here which currently has some of the game objects, and what I can do is I can bring an object from here just by dragging, and the object will be placed beneath the cursor in world space. And as you can see, this thing also takes the rotation into account of the object, so it's placed as expected. In addition to that, I've added a small shortcut which enables me to select an object and hit that shortcut, and I create a copy of that object, and I can easily place it around. And it is just super fast to add new objects in the scene that way. Yeah, it's super handy, and it enables me to quickly add new things to the level. Another thing that I worked on was wall jumping for the game character, and here it is, the wall jumping. Let me show it in practice. No, that's not a good place, maybe over there. You can see it's what you expect from a wall jump. You stick to a wall, you start to go down slowly because of some friction and stuff, and when you hold to the wall you can jump on the other side along the normal of the wall, and you're able to hop between walls as long as you can. The way I detect walls is by, as you can see, the default collider of the the default collider of the player is a capsule. And here you can see it, but here there is a cylinder which is slightly bigger than the capsule, and that cylinder checks for collision in the physics world with any objects, and if these objects are static, if these objects are static, I consider them as they are a wall, and that I could start sliding to. There is a small issue in that situation over here. As you can see, the cylinder overlaps with these two walls, so when sliding I should somehow pick which wall should be considered for sliding and which one shouldn't, and I do that categorization based on the input of the character. So I pick the wall that is the most parallel to the input of the wall, to the input of the player in world space, so that enables me to differentiate that I'm sliding on the wall on the right and that I'm not sliding on the wall in front of me. And yeah, another thing that you kind of saw earlier is that rolling animation, and that rolling thing, the way it works for the player, it is when you roll, you start rolling in the initial direction, and you cannot change it, and you can't break the roll. The only way that you can break the rolling is by jumping out of it, but this is kind of a trade-off because you gain that and you keep that momentum from rolling, and you risk from falling out of any platforms and stuff like that. And it's kind of a trade-off for the player to kind of consider doing or consider not doing, because it is indeed dangerous. The initial idea why I did the rolling thing, it was because when the player had to traverse some area that was already traversed, so all the collectibles are taken, all the enemies are killed, it will become somewhat uninteresting to roam to the same area again. So with the rolling, the players can just more quickly traverse that empty area on their own risk of falling out of the platforms, like here. So yeah, that's it, and that's from the last few weeks. As you know, I work after my official full-time work on that project, so I don't actually get too much time to work on it, and the process of developing it's quite slow, but at some point it will be done, I hope. Let's see. Oh, another small thing that I did, the camera now can only be rotated on 90 degrees snapped with the right thumbstick of the gamepad or with just 2 keys on the keyboard, and I did this because my levels are kind of a square-ish, and the idea that I have in my head is like that, so it doesn't make sense to be able to rotate on anything else besides these 90 degree snaps. On the vertical axis I just added this small region for walking around, just to be able to see what's coming ahead, and yeah, that's all. So yeah, thanks for watching. Oh, and don't forget to follow on Twitter and subscribe and stuff like that.